Hey everybody, it's GauntletX and welcome back to another premiere draft of Outlaws of Thunder Junction. Turns out this is going to be the flashback draft format for this week. This was a interesting one from just a year ago, I believe. Pretty bomb heavy set, lots of great rares, and this pack certainly shows that off. The Rush of Dread here, have one of your opponents sack half their creatures if they don't have a bunch of tokens on the board. Usually that's pretty good. Have them sack two creatures if they have three on the board because it is rounded up. And then, of course, plenty of other things you can do with the spree if you have a bunch of mana in the late game. But that's usually how it's used. Have your opponent sack at least two creatures off of it. Pretty solid rare here. There is a really powerful uncommon as well with the Aloe Alchemist, and that's showing off some of the other stuff in the set. There's also some interesting mechanics. You have the plot mechanic where you get to exile your card and then cast it next turn. So often these will be for reduced mana costs, like 4 mana instead of 5 on this Djinn, or sometimes they have like an ability when you plot them. I actually think I'm going to go for the Aloe Alchemist over the Rush of Dread. It's certainly a bit more flexible to me. It's not as color restrictive, and green is actually the strongest color in this set by a pretty good margin. This set has a little bit of color imbalance here. The best archetype is like green-white, which shows off another one of the mechanics, and I think we get to show that off with this pick, the Stubborn Burrow Fiend here. The saddle mechanics, so you have mounts, much like you have vehicles, where you can tap your other creatures to crew a vehicle. Well, with this, you can tap your other creatures to saddle the mount to trigger its ability. The Burrow Fiend, of course, mills you a little bit and then gets bigger for each creature card in your graveyard. This ability stacks up pretty well. The more times you saddle it, the bigger it's going to get throughout the game, because that graveyard's just going to keep getting more and more full. So the Burrow Fiend, very solid card to follow up the Aloe Alchemist. There's two bonus sheets in the set as well, which was another memorable aspect of it. You had the Prosperity Post. These were these special border cards that are all different crimes. The crime mechanic means that if you target your opponent or anything they control, you have committed a crime, which will trigger cards like Blood Hustler that keep getting +1/+1 counters. So there's definitely that aspect of the set as well. And then the other bonus sheet is from the like the Aftermath set. They were going to do Outlaws of Thunder Junction in two separate sets, but then they canceled it, so they just shoved its Aftermath set into Outlaws of Thunder Junction as a whole. There's the Big Score bonus sheet. Those are all treated as mythic rares, and again, there are some very interesting, very unique, very like constructed-oriented mechanics, as those cards weren't intended to be drafted. So weird stuff. There's so much to say about this set. There's so much unique stuff going on with it. But for pick 3, I think Mystical Tether is a very solid choice here. It is the best removal spell in this pack outside of perhaps the Slick Sequence. That is a great value play. There's also a Blood Hustler here, which is quite good. It triggers its own ability to get +1/+1 counters off of the life drain, so it's good in a crime-focused deck for sure. But I do, as I said before, like the green-white deck quite a bit. I think it's the strongest one in the format. We do already have a mount towards that. All three of these cards would fit excellently into the green-white strategy in the set. Pick number 4. Every pack we see, we get to talk about a new mechanic. That's crazy. There are deserts as well in the set. There's some cards that will search your library for specifically a desert. Some cards that get cheaper if you have a desert on your board, stuff like that. But that mechanic plays out pretty simply. Basically, almost every non-basic land in the set just is a desert, so those all work with any non-basic land you end up drafting. And the deserts make your mana base great. There's cards like Mirage Mesa that are basically evolving wilds, but there are also cards like there's a dual land in every color that's also a desert and pings your opponent, so those commit crimes for you, and so on. Pick 5, Steer Clear is good in the green-white mounts deck, if we can keep that going. Snakeskin Veil is also good in any green deck, because green gets a lot of creatures that are absurdly beefy for their mana costs. So that last pick, I think Sterling Supplier was a card that, as the set progressed, kept going higher and higher and higher in my pick order. It really doesn't look like much, but this is one of my favorite commons to have at the top end of your mana curve in any white deck at 5. It's just a great stat line for the cost. You get 4 power and 5 toughness, 3 of which is in the sky. Plays a lot better than it looks. Anyways, pick 5 here. I think Snakeskin Veil and Steer Clear are both very reasonable choices. And last pack, I think the most reasonable choices were the Sterling Supplier or that Desert for fixing. Pick number 6. Here's one of those big score mythic rares we were talking about that are very weird, very constructed focused because they weren't designed to be drafted. So draw 3, gain 6, create 3 bats, but then you discard a card, lose a life, and sack one of the bats. If this leaves the battlefield front, this is so weird. Don't think I'm going to try to splash towards that, but at the same time, I don't think there's a single card in this pack I actually really like in basically any deck in the whole set, so I'll draft it anyway. I'm not going to see that as a huge reason to try to play black, but if we end up in black, maybe I will try this thing out. Pick 7, Stagecoach Security was perfectly fine. 4/5, give your whole board +1/+1 Vigilance. Definitely prefer the Supplier at the 5 mana slots. Maybe we just take another Snakeskin Veil. I think that's probably reasonable. Not the kind of card you can have infinite copies of, but it's pretty decent. There's also the Explosive Derailment. This was a perfectly reasonable removal spell. Any game where your opponent had a good artifact on board, doesn't happen super often, but you just felt like you were living the dream. Yeah, I'll take Explosive Derailment. Still early enough in the draft to not really commit to anything. Pick 8, Bighorn is fine. Make Your Own Luck's actually a real great draw spell, as far as I remember, so that's entertaining to me. That's interesting to me. There's also, yeah, green-white dual land and the Bighorn as a mount. 3 very, very solid choices. Grab a Make Your Own Luck here. Pick number 9. This pack doesn't really have anything. Take Failed Forwarding if we end up in blue. Pick 10, Repulse. That is great. 3 mana bounce creature plus draw a card. That's great, great, great value and tempo. So blue's decently open here. Maybe we go for that green-blue make your own luck kind of deck. And again, with the fixing in the set, if we draft that pretty highly, we might be able to play green, blue, and white here. Don't mind seeing a late Bristlepack Sentry. There's a lot of green commons that are easily 4 power or greater for it. All right, pack 2, pick 1. It's going to be hard to take another Make Your Own Luck over Congregation Gryff. It's an excellent card for the bounce deck. I will take the Gryff. I'm feeling maybe green-white splash blue will still be very reasonable for us. Let's grab a Gryff here. Also a clear shot, solid removal for sure. Roxanne, you don't have to derail my draft tonight. Roxanne's one of the strongest rares in the entire set. A 5-mana 4/3 that comes with both a removal spell and a mana rock at the same time. And then if they don't immediately remove her, she's going to make even more removal spells and mana rocks every time you attack. So let's go deep into green and splash everything else. The Armadillo is perfect for that kind of deck. It is a great finisher and also early mana fixing to help get to whatever color you need. Armadillo is fantastic. It can also specifically grab a desert from your deck, which allows it to pull out any of the common dual lands. Pick number 4, Trained Erranks. Getting it deeper towards white. This was a great, great mount for aggressive white decks, particularly the green-white one. We're currently literally every color except black. I might take almost any other dual land here over the Erranks, but because this is specifically a black dual land, I think I actually will take the Erranks here. Pick 5, Drover Grizzly. We're definitely going to be deepest into green. Another derailment could be perfectly reasonable, though. It would take a lot to get me to not at least splash red for the Roxanne here. Oh yeah, we're real deep on green-white. We might be able to just go Naya here, green-white, and just splash the red in. I think I'm still going to take Grizzly over the derailment here as a much safer pick. There's a Miriam for the green-white mounts deck. This thing's absurd. Any Miriam curve-outs are always gnarly. If you play like the Trained Erranks on turn 2 and then a Miriam on turn 3, saddle the Erranks with the Miriam so it's got first strike and it really can't be blocked well, and then you're also immediately getting a counter on it. It's a 4/2 on attacks. Absolutely filthy, and I think worth taking over a great removal spell like Mystical Tether. Pick 7. There was a lot of fixing in the pack with Miriam as well. That could come back to bite us, not taking any fixing. But green-white mounts, we're getting a bunch of the great cards for that deck. So it is tempting me to try to keep this to 2 colors. Still real low on removal. I'll take a defensive removal spell here. The Felidar at the top of the curve. All green, white. You love to see that. Don't love any of these here except Supplier, but I don't know I have room for more 5s. Random Hypothesis, just something completely off color at this point. Emergent Haunting, and we'll see what we get in pack number 3. Oh, we could play a Conduit Pylons for Roxanne. Oh, an incredible Black Mythic from the bonus sheet here, the big score. This card's ridiculous. 4 mana, 4/3. Your opponent discards a card and you get a clue token. So a 4 mana, 4/3. It's like a Virus Beetle with solid stat line for the mana cost, not like a 2 mana 1/1. It's a 4 mana, 4/3. That is beef. That is a chunky creature. And you draw a card off your Virus Beetle as well because you get a clue token. The Hostile Investigator is a stupid card. That said, we have a great green-white mounts deck going on here that just needs a little more fixing to get this Roxanne in there. I don't think I should muddy up this deck anymore. There was definitely an alternate way to draft this of just fixing really highly and just being the green all 5 color stuff. But when we have both Congregation Gryff and Miriam, plenty of like 2 mana mounts as well, I think we're in a great spot for the more focused 2 color and a splash kind of mounts deck. And even playing that deck, as we said at the start of the draft, you might not have believed me, because during pack 1, I don't think there were a bunch of incredible rares flying around. But this is a balmy set. We passed an incredible rare or 2 during this draft, and we still got a Roxanne pass to us and a Bruce Tarl pass to us, which are both cards that are so powerful, they would immediately jump up in power level and be like some of the top 5 rares in a recent set like Edge of Eternities or something, or Ether Drift. Pack 3, pick 3, another Trained Erranx, or more removal with Fierce Retribution. What do we realistically have for removal here? We have Steer Clear, Derailment, Lullaby, Tether. I'm not going to main deck Tornado. I feel like the Erranx is super, super good with Gryff and Miriam. Makes it hard to take like a Fierce Retribution over it. But I think there's a great argument to do that. But I'm just going to go all in. I'm going to go full aggro, no interaction, just make our opponents have to survive our onslaught of absolute nonsense. Pick 4, nothing much here. Claim Jumper's good if you're on the draw, and just a 3 mana 3/3 Vigilance, incredibly filler if you're on the play. That's, I guess, the closest to playable here. I mean, Ankle Biter works in some decks, but this deck doesn't really care about it. It's Golgari that really likes it. There we go. We still get some more removal. Get a Getaway Glamour in here. This can blow up the biggest creature on the board. And you can also flicker one of your creatures to like save it from removal or re-up its enter the battlefield effect. Perfectly fine. I don't love Betrayal at the Vaults. If it fully resolves, it is a pretty big blowout. The problem is it's a 6 mana spell. So by the time you're casting it, often your opponent will have the mana up for any instance they have in hand. So if your opponent has removal at all, they're going to just like full counter that thing. All right, Bighorn's perfectly fine for this kind of deck. Again, this set is loaded with powers. So like a Murder and a Lawbringer here. A Badlands Revival is another great spell. Huge Reanimation. This is going to be a crazy week. I forgot how explosive Outlaws of Thunder Junction was. Like, I remembered it was balmy. I led with that, but these packs are juiced. And then we get a pack like this, and immediately I'm brought back down to earth of like, okay, we've seen some real strong packs, but there's also like plenty of filler in between those packs. I'm not playing... Oh, I only took 1 Snakeskin Veil. Okay, I might play a second, probably not. But a deck with a Bruce Tarl and a Roxanne to protect, that would be a deck that's a little bit closer to running multiple Snakeskin Veils than most. I don't really want to play Patient Naturalist with these bombs and no ways to pick them up out of the grave. I think Patient Naturalist is exceptional in Golgari. There's a lot of graveyard recursion in black. But if you have literally no graveyard recursion and multiple bomb rares that are stronger than anything else in your deck, there is a little bit of a risk to the mill. But it's also important to keep in mind, like, it's a mill 3. The odds of the bomb being in your top 3 are much lower than them being in, like, your bottom 20, where the 3 has just milled you closer to the rares. So, realistically, you probably shouldn't let the fact that you could mill a bomb impact whether or not you're running a self-mill card if it just has good stats up front. But it's one of those things that just, it feels so gnarly anytime you mill your bomb rare, so I'm just going to prevent feel bads, even if it means running a slightly worse deck. Alright, I like this suite of non-creature spells. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Perfect. 7 non-creature spells, 16 creatures. Sounds perfectly fine to me. We have an extremely high amount of 2-mana creatures. Most of them are great, so we can definitely cut the really filler ones like Bristlepack, Sentry, and Voracious Varmint. That leaves all of our other 2-mana creatures to be a mount, care bounce amount, or just be a huge stat line for the cost like Aloe Alchemist. So that leaves us with just the cream of the crop here at 2 mana and still 6 2-mana creatures on curve. So definitely like that. We've got a great aggressive curve here. I don't think we need too many top-end spells, so I like dropping the Felidar. The Armadillo is a flexible one. It's both a top-end spell and a way to hit like our red source for our splashes. So that's super flexible. This is definitely a great spell, whereas the Felidar is much more narrow. Still a lot of high mana value stuff for a deck like this. So we'll put those to the side as potential cuts as well. Some 4s. The Wanted Griffin definitely. At least the Bighorn has Congregation Grift and Miriam synergies. Don't mind that. Steer Clear synergy as well. Still might cut like one of them. But we only need to cut 4 cards here, so probably some combination of these. Claim Jumper, such a coin flippy card. It's going to be disappointingly mid, disappointingly mediocre every time we're on the draw. Or sorry, every time we're on the play, it's just going to be bad. But when we're on the draw, it's going to be great. It puts the planes right onto the battlefield. Crazy. I guess I should put it in this stack to show off that it is pretty close to all of these in terms of definitely could be cut. But I already have well more than 4 cards here. I'm probably not going to dip down to cutting the Claim Jumper as well. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, and then one of these. 1 Bighorn or 1 Supplier. Let's go 1 Supplier. That makes the curve just that nice kind of down ramp here. 3 4-mana cards, 2 5-mana cards, 1 6-mana card. Look, the numbers are just satisfying, right? 1 6, 2 5s, 3 4s, 4 3s, and then 6 2s. It's almost perfect. I don't mind it at all. This looks sick. This looks explosive. Bruce Tarl and Roxanne for bomb rares, as well as some premium uncommons here like Armadillo, Congregation Griff, Miriam, Aloe Alchemist even. Outcaster Greenblade for sure, helping get to the splashes. This deck looks super powerful. It's like a great return to Outlaws of Thunder Junction. We will call it a deck here, hop into the gameplay, see how far this one can take us. Maybe we won't. See how far this one can take this. Matchmaking just got pulled offline. So I will see you all in milliseconds for you all, but for myself, hopefully they bring it back on within like a half hour or something. Because if matchmaking's online for a couple hours, might have to miss a daily upload today, and that would be rough. And then, of course, this would be live for you all on Wednesday instead of Tuesday. So we'll see. All right, here we are about an hour and a half later, so a bit late to the recording, but I should be able to still get this video out for y'all today, just a little late. Let's get into the gameplay of this Outlaws Thunder Junction draft. We got a reasonable opener here. It's obviously a bit risky with only the 2-lander, but it has very powerful spells if we hit any lands, and if we miss land drops too long, it might not be pure downside, because we also have the Claim Jumper here that could help solve the mana situation a little bit if our opponent hits their 3rd land, or their 4th land before us, I should say. Then this can jump up to 4 mana. And we'll be up a card there. Alright, green-white mirror match, but we're having some mana difficulties. This was another good reason to start with the Erynx here, as that would allow me to saddle it up here for the attacks, which gives me not only the first strike to be able to attack in profitably, but also, more importantly, the scry to make sure we hit our land drops. God, the music on this board was so good. Fortune's a pretty threatening card. I mean, the stat line itself is already decent. The scary part, though, is if they get any good enter the battlefield effects, they can keep getting flickers off the saddle attacks. So I might go for the Tether next turn. Not that it's the greatest target in the universe, but I definitely don't want to play Claim Jumper without getting the land off of it. And if I want to attack in and get a scry here, I need the 4 toughness blocker out of the way. So I think I am going to blow the removal maybe a little early here on the Fortune. It's a reasonable target, and there's a lot of good reasons to want it off the board. Anyways. Congregation Grift, powerful as the card is, that's going to have to go. We have much stronger plays if we can actually hit our lands. Prosperity Tycoon, excellent card, a 4/2 and a 1/1, and they can sack the 1/1 to give the Tycoon indestructible later. Still have good Erynx attacks here, now we get the Claim Jumper value as well. So let's do Claim Jumper first, so I don't shuffle after I scry. See what this scry finds for us. A Drover Grizzly? Nope. I just need the red source. We've drawn both of our red bomb rares. So we're looking for the fixing, either the Conduit Pylons, the Mountain, or the multiple green cards we have to search out a red source. Roxanne would absolutely take over this game if we can make it to her. All of their creatures small enough to die to those meteorites. The trade into Tycoon isn't great, but I feel it's better than the trade into Ankle Biter, because we get to soak up 2 of their mana and kill the Mercenary token here. Yes, the Tycoon will technically stay on the board, but either way we're just killing a 1/1, and this way we're killing a 1/1 and taking some of their mana. I don't care too much about the Death Touch here. And I definitely have to block somebody. We also get to stop a bunch more damage for the turn that way. Ooh, Wily Duke. Does not do anything by himself. But if they play anything that saddles, or any vehicles or anything like that, then they will be able to get value off of them. I think I'm just going to pass holding up this Getaway Glamour. A bit risky against green because they have Snakeskin Veil at common. But I could get some extra flicker value off of this. I mean, is the flicker value super worth it? Should I just kill Wily immediately? Make sure they don't have Snakeskin. If I kill Wily, I take 2 damage. Block these 2. I mean, I could also crack back here. Let's see, I got 1 creature in grave if I try to saddle the Burrow Fiend. If I saddle nobody, I hit for 5 there at 6. They crack back for 4, 5, 6, 7. Don't really think we're racing here. I think this is full defense. Turn it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. Okay. So I can untap a creature off this. So I can actually get 3 damage in. And still have all my blockers up. Okay. Good old overrun. Pretty sure that's exactsies. I stop 3 damage and take exactly 10, no matter how I block. Cool. Alright. Well, that's expected to happen with this deck. We will lose at least 1 game on average to mana issues when we're splashing into a 3rd color. Disappointing ending, though. Getting any red source would have firmly won that game. I think we would have had a decent amount of time to do it if they did not have an overrun effect like that. If they just played another decent creature, we had plenty more blockers to cast still, just taking 2 damage a turn. Rough start, but this deck is more than powerful enough to rally and get a bunch of wins in a row here. Alright, perfect mana this time around. A little bit slower though, doesn't start till turn 3. But it'll have much better later game plays as the mana is locked in here. Ooh, great. We got a 2-drop on curve as well, so I don't need to just cycle an Armadillo on 2 or anything. Magda can be pretty terrifying, like many rares in the set, if they cast 3 removal spells throughout the whole game, or activate 3 abilities and then just get a 4/4 flyer off of their 2-drop creature. So here comes Magda. Already got 1 out of 3 treasures towards a 4/4 flyer. The other issue with the Magda is, even if they don't get the flyer, just getting the extra mana out of her can be quite valuable. Oh my god, we're playing against an Intimidation campaign deck. Card is absolutely filthy. Every single removal spell in their deck now comes with a gain a life draw card attached to it. Great draw here, Claim Jumper when we're on the draw. It's disappointingly awkward here when they have Intimidation Campaign out. From what we've seen from their deck between Magda and Intimidation Campaign, they're going to be Grixis all removal spells, as every removal spell they cast gives them huge value, which means we really want to hold Snakeskin Veil up literally every turn. If I tap out for Claim Jumper, I don't have another green source in hand for the Snakeskin Veil. It's kind of brutal. I don't think I give up on the extra land value from the Jumper for that, though. So I'm just playing no creatures this turn. Emergent Haunting. Whenever they cast a spell, that also turns into a 3/3 flyer for the turn. And then the Slick Sequence. Draw a card, recast a campaign later, gain another life, draw another card. Oof. Hey, Bruce. Well, that'll help us out a lot. So we are going to have to do some explosive things to outpace their great removal all day. The end of your next turn. Wow. Wow, that's nuts. So I can still just cast that next turn, even though I don't have the mana for it yet. I mean, as you can tell, probably you could already tell from the drafting, but it has definitely been a while since I've drafted Outlaws of Thunder Junction, so I'm relearning some of these cards. Oh, come on. Cruel Ultimatum in the full-on Grixis control deck. Jesus, discard my entire hand. Guess I might as well cast one of these two. Probably the Snakeskin Veil over the Armadillo, just to gain a life. I would gain 3 life, but then I would just discard whatever land I draw anyway. Return a creature from grave to hand. They have no creature in grave at least, so there's that. Alright. I don't know how we beat Cruel Ultimatum though. That thing's like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That was a 6 for 1? 7 for 1 because I also sacked the creature. Not lovely. Not lovely. Just gonna do that pre-combat because I can only cast it this turn anyway. I don't I don't have another card in my hand here. I was instinctively holding up green so I could pretend I had another Snakeskin Veil, but like I don't have any more cards. I've just drawn a million off Cruel Ultimatum, so I highly doubt they don't have removal for Bruce. And if they do have removal for Bruce, there's just about nothing I can do here. Yep. It's only 2 mana removal too. Just get completely Cruel Ulted out of the game. We're playing off the top against a deck with at least like 1 more piece of card draw, but they draw a card every time they cast any removal. They have 5 toughness we can't get in already. Yeah, there's no combination of draws that's going to beat that. We just got Cruel Ultimated hard. A 7 for 1's a 7 for 1, man. Alright, here we are for game 3. We are 0-2, but again, this deck is quite powerful, so if any deck could rally from this and turn this into a positive record, it would be this one. Rough start to the draft, some mana issues for game 1, pull it from us, and just get Cruel Ultimated hard in game 2. These are the things that can happen. That is indeed Magic, baby. This is a very good opening hand. Excellent mana here. It's only a 2-liner, but we have a bunch of ways to pick up more lands between the Green Blade and the Armadillo if necessary. But if we top deck lands naturally, as we have been doing so far, then we just get to play the Green Blade on 3 and actually cast that Armadillo in the late game as a great finisher. Playing against blue-white, they start with a Vengeful Townsfolk. There's a Conduit Pylon, so we already have all of our colors. The Green Blade's a little bit larger when we play it. Pretty cool. There's Bruce Tarl on top. Okay, I guess we're not playing Outcast or Green Blade yet, because I would rather not shuffle my library right now. I don't mind actually trading the Erranks fully into the Townsfolk here. So I'm going to get the plot damage going. Just bash for 6 rather than saddling up here. Trample for 3, trade our 2-drop into their 3-drop, looks super fine to me. And then next turn we get to play Bruce Tarl and Aloe Alchemist, because again, that plot ability means we've already paid for the Alchemist. It'll be free next turn. I won't get to attack with it then. Just got the damage out of it right now, essentially. I don't really want to cast Bruce against open mana, so now that we've drawn Bruce at least, I'll go for the Green Blade instead. They are a blue deck, and there are reasonable counterspells in the set. We can easily apply enough pressure this game to force them to tap out into playing some blockers at some point, and it's at that point that we can pretty easily... You know what, I'm going to get the Mountain so I don't have to filter mana through Conduit Pylons. But anyways, it's at that point, once they have to stabilize, that we can easily just sneak Bruce by. So I guess, yeah, I forgot, we have to spend an extra mana to get mana out of Conduit Pylons, so even if I wanted to play Bruce that turn, I could not have, but I definitely didn't against all their mana untapped. Outlaw Stitcher, no other spells cast, just a 1/4 and a 2/2. Sad day for the Stitcher, and now Bruce is free to go here. See if we can't hit a Snakeskin Veil off him, that'd be absolutely beautiful, but Mystical Tether is fine too. Alright, one of these accomplishes something by attacking. Either one of these kills their 2/2 or one of these actually hits them. So I assume the 2/2 is going to trade into the 3/2 and the 2/3 is going to bounce off Stitcher. But that is fine by me. Clear out this board a bit. No, they're going to choose to kill the Green Blade instead. It's fine with me. Green Blade is usually a pretty big target to kill, because obviously your opponent can get more desert throughout the game, and then it's going to be really, really big. But we actually only have the 1 desert in this deck, so I don't mind losing the 2/3 at all. Bunch of open mana again. Well, if I don't tether now, it's going to go away at the end of the turn, so we'll go tether and Trained Erranks then. Which again, I don't really mind, because it helps us play around the counter unless we pay 2 or something like that. They don't just get our Armadillo for 1 counter spell. See if we get a Bruce Tarl trigger. We do. Get another draw off of that, even if they kill him right now. Ooh, that's rough for our opponent. They do get to kill Bruce, but because they had to wait till he declared attack to cast that, we still got to draw at least one more card off of the Bruce before he went away here. As opposed to if they had a rule that could kill him outside of combat. That said, if they don't play a creature here, then Steer Clear doesn't do anything anyway. But again, we have 6 power on board and they're at 11, so they don't have removal. They kind of have to play a creature here, and then I'll have a target for the Steer Clear. Wanted Griffin is the play. That is definitely the best creature to play around the Steer Clear, as it spits out a little creature when it dies. We'll still cast the Steer Clear to keep these both on the board, instead of having one of them trade off, since Steer Clear is going to go away anyway. Might as well trade Steer Clear into the Griffin instead of Alchemist into the Griffin, and since they block the Trampler, we actually get all of our damage in there. Kind of had to block the Erynx if they wanted to stop some damage that turn. Drop the Armadillo down. Yeah, I'm not holding up Snakeskin Veil, but it's got Ward 3. They'll have to basically completely tap out to deal with that, in which case they die to the other cards pretty easily. Lullaby on the Trampler. They gain a couple life off that removal as well, which is very helpful for them. Stubborn Burrow Fiend. Perfectly reasonable draw. Threats are good here. Hold up Snakeskin Veil. Probably play everything to the board here. I don't remember a ton of board wipes in this set, but there are probably 1 or 2. So I guess I could hold on to Burrow Fiend here. Alright, they're just going to concede there regardless. We have got a victory out of this deck at least, but we'll still need a couple more to make sure we get at least a 50-50 run on this one. Alright, here we are on the play for game number 4 now. Another very reasonable opener, the Armadillo for the red source for Derailment. And we have 1 early threat, 2 removal spells, and we're chilling for a while. Found a better early threat. Start with the Erynx so we can get our scries and set up our draws. Playing against Golgari. Golgari is an excellent grindy deck in the set. There's tons of ways to bring creatures back from your graveyard. There's 2 mana ways to bring one back to your hand and make a 1/1. There are like 5 mana ways to put 1 from your grave back on board and 1 into your hand. Golgari's a great deck in the set. Alright, we'll get the Alchemist down here. Make sure we're still playing to the board. They did have the Deserts due to clear out the Trained Erynx. Bridled Bighorn is the draw. Nice way to just keep curving out. Perfectly happy with that. They missed a land drop here, which is good for us. Might have a Shoot the Sheriff or something here. They got something up. Oh, it's just another Desert's Due. Shoot the Sheriff's an uncommon from the set that can destroy anything but an outlaw. That is the one mechanic I think we forgot to mention during drafting. Outlaws are in the set. It is a lot to keep track of, but outlaws are essentially Warm P. W-A-R-M and P are the creature type. Warlocks, assassins, rogues, mercenaries, and pirates. I didn't make up the acronym, but it's a pretty good way to remember it, because it's kind of hard to forget. There's Dance of the Tumbleweeds from our opponent, ramping them up a bit here. It's definitely going to be a debate here between whether I should cycle this Armadillo for the red for Derailment, or just keep it in hand, so if I top deck any land, I've got a 7/7 down. I feel that the 7/7 body's kind of a massive deal right now, so I'm just going to hold on to it here, rather than get the Derailment mana. Derailment does not really look enticing on the board currently. And I have a getaway glamour once they play an actually beefy creature. So, Armadillo's down. We'll saddle the Bighorn to get another creature on the board when we get this attack in. We really don't care about our blocks. And they're down to 11. Should be nigh impossible for them to kill the Armadillo here with only 4 mana, but they play a 5th land. They could, like, shoot the Sheriff, play a 2-mana removal spell on it, pay the ward 3. They do get a 5th land off of the Claim Jumper. And a 6th land. Yeah, I forgot this thing actually just completely catches you up to your opponent, so incredible work from Claim Jumper this game for our opponent. That is kind of absurd here. They're really low on life, though, so yeah, if they tap out for that, they are just dead. To Getaway Glamour, we hit them for exact lethal. We don't actually get to destroy that. It's not the biggest creature on board, but we can exile it, so it won't be around for blocks. Here's 11 damage. That is 2 and 2. A couple pretty quick victories in sequence here after a couple pretty short losses, let's be completely honest, and that'll balance out our record. We are 50-50 right now, and next game is the deciding factor whether we'll be at least 50-50 through the draft as a whole. If we lose next game, we'll have more losses than wins, which would be a rough one for this deck, but if we get that win, then we are straight on our way towards a positive record. Alright, here we are on the draw for Game a Lot. This is going to be a big one. We've got a really, really strong hand here if we can hit the right colors. Could have kept Miriam. We do have a mount in the hand, and I can play off curve with her. But I'm really interested in hitting a plains towards actually playing a 2-drop, and sadly we did not do that, so we'll have to wait for Greenblade, but Greenblade can grab us the plains for later, so we'll have to play a slower, grindier game. But this hand is perfectly fine at doing that as well. We have 2 removal spells, and a Roxanne is a removal spell. And a bomb. So play all the defensive stuff rather than the offensive stuff, it looks like. Find the plains off curve. So it'll be Greenblade time. This hand is definitely in the market for an additional white source. So we'll go Greenblade for another plains. So we can double spell with a couple white spells in the future. Pass through with all their mana up. Play a Bighorn then? Go Bighorns. Pass again with all their mana up. I mean, Roxanne's one of those bomb rares that even if they immediately have removal for her, she's just immediately got us value. We kill the bandit, we have a mana rock. I don't need the mana rock, though, because I could just hardcast Armadillo next turn off this forest. So we can just go Erynx. I could exile the Sentry to attack both. Still have 2 pieces removal left between Roxanne and Tether. Yeah, I wanna make plays that pressure them and force them to spend some removal early if they have it. So let's put them under as much pressure as we can. Maybe give Roxanne a better chance of sticking around, being completely absurd. Next turn is an easy Armadillo. That thing has gotta be killed. Patient Naturalist. They get to mill themselves a little bit, which is good with the black Graveyard Recursion spells. And then they draw land out of the grave, so they find a plains. Pass through. Not the best blockers here. Yeah, we are still absolutely vibing right now. Saddle 2, not perfect. Yeah, let's get Armadillo down so I can actually saddle both. Oops. There, combat. And they're both saddled. So we get a 1/1, we get a scry, find a steer clear, very reasonable draw. It's a deal 4 for 1 mana. Kill the bandit, get rid of the mana. Got them to 12 here. Their hand must be real bad. I mean, we still haven't really seen a threat. Just played 3 spells, Naturalist Bandit and Sentry. There we go, Badlands Revival. They just don't have the big threats to play around with that. Rough mills off the Naturalist for them then, for sure. Still seen no removal, and I feel like if they had it, they'd have killed Armadillo or Bighorn by now, so let's just get Roxanne out here and wrap this game up real quick. There's a concession from our opponent. That is 3-2. We have locked in at least a 50-50 record, going 3-0 after our first couple losses. All right, they added Yargle Day achievements that we need to unlock by the end of Yargle Day to get the prizes. Control creatures with exactly 9 total power at the beginning of your end step. Okay. Deal 93 combat damage to opponents with Yargle over any number of games. Oh boy, I gotta go play some Yargle constructed. Play 20 games in which your deck contains 25 non-land cards from Dominaria. Win a game in which the only creature spells you cast have no abilities. And with Yargle as your commander, win a game in which there are no land cards remaining in your library? These are some intense achievements to try to get in 1 week for the Bargler title. That's going to be a sought-after title. You got to build a whole deck around just self-milling your whole library. And you have to win with it. I assume it doesn't let you do that in a friendly challenge. Okay, quick PSA for everybody. Yargle achievements on Arena right now. Do your best to get them if you have cards from Dominaria to do that. But those sound difficult. Here we are for game number 6. This will be the game that decides if we have recovered from a very bad start into a positive record instead of just an average one here. Hopefully we have. This is a slower opening hand, but it has the mana to play Green Blade turn 4, which then lets us play anything that we draw out of our whole deck. I'll keep a Congregation Gryph. I can go Erings on 2. And then Mystical Tether on 3 if they play anything good. If they don't, I'll have a little gap in the mana curve. We'll have to wait till 4 mana. Or if we top deck the forest, that'll be absolutely perfect. Then I just go Erings into Gryph into Bighorn, go full mounts. Playing against green, white, and blue, we hit a Drover Grizzly. Not terrible, but I do need to hit a land of any kind to be able to cast a spell next turn. So that'll be quite awkward if we don't find a land next turn. Buried in the Garden. Okay, we can just exile the Buried in the Garden. Oh, artifact or creature? Bummer. Bummer. I wish that were any non-land permanent because I would incredibly happily exile their Buried in the Garden. That card is insane. It exiles any non-land permanent and it gives you a mana of any color whenever you tap the land, so it's ramp and removal all in one. Super valuable card for our opponent here. Definitely rough that the tethers can't hit it. Alright, they probably have Snakeskin Veil here. I don't really think I have a way to play around it. Because if I don't try to kill Brigand here, it is pretty much guaranteed to draw them a card. It should be criminally easy for them to commit a crime of any kind next turn. Only cast one spell right now. I guess let's move to main phase 2, see if Arena holds. Yeah, they definitely have an instant. It's probably Snakeskin Veil, but it could be some kind of cheap removal-y thing out of white. Probably not, though. All the cheap white removal I can think of requires a creature to be attacking. Like Steer Clear or Fierce Retribution. This feels like almost definitely Snakeskin Veil, so I guess I will play around and just play the big one here. It would be a miserable turn to just play a Tether into a Snakeskin Veil and cast absolutely nothing else. Yep. Blow up my creature, get the card draw from the Brigand. So I guess it could have been Getaway Glamour, but Getaway Glamour would accomplish the same thing, saving the Brigand from the Mystical Tether. Because they had 2 mana off of the one buried in the garden, they could tap that forest for a white and 1, and then Glamour the Brigand, and have it survive Tether. So now they don't have Veil mana up. Let's go Greenblade Tether. Deal with the Brigand now. Shut off their card draw engine. And anything that we top deck is fully castable. Dance of the Tumbleweed, that's going to be a beefy threat. We'll definitely tether that. But now anything they draw into is also going to be completely castable. It's rough they get the 6/6 here, because the 6/6 is enough pressure. I don't think I can not tether it. And there's definitely a world where I tether it, and then they just play a bomb, because there are a good chunk of bombs in the set. But yeah, I mean, I'd have to double block with like Greenblade and Grizzly to try to kill it, and then just get demolished by instant speed removal or any combat trick. Yeah, I really don't feel like I can not tether the 6/6. But we might get Bonnie Palled or something super gnarly. Gem Lightfoot. Okay. In advanced step, if you haven't cast a spell from your hand, draw a card. So when they run out of stuff to do, they draw a card every turn. The Varmint to blow up Mystical Tether, also pretty rough. Drover Grizzly with a Steer Clear up. So they can get the Brigand back. +++ X number of mounts you control. So +2/+2 off the saddle. Yeah, and the lifelink, we win races off that. They got their own Steer Clear. That would be disappointing, because then the Griff can never get into combat. Because it would always take 4 off the Steer Clear unless I somehow kill the Errangs first, which I can't kill it if it doesn't get into combat. Yeah, we might get Steer Cleared. Okay, no Steer Clear. Just gain the life. And pass through. We're about halfway through our deck. We haven't seen either of our red rares, our Bruce Tarl or our Roxanne. Those are definitely the 2 biggest draws in the deck. The cards we're really hoping to find here. Detention Sphere, wow. Just chocked full of excellent removal over there. I think I have to Steer Clear the Brigand over the Gem Lightfoot. Well, they both theoretically draw them a card every turn, but Gem only draws cards if they haven't cast a spell. The Brigand only draws them cards if it hits us, which it can't hit us when they're not committing crimes. It's close between the two. I guess Jim is also just bigger on the board in terms of the damage it's getting, in terms of how well it's blocking. Alright, I'll steer clear Jim. They have instant speed removal for Grizzly. They can make this only 2 damage and counter it, but they do not. A little bit late, Snake and Veil. Not gonna lie, that hurts my feelings. But we'll deal with it. I don't think I can attack both, because then they can brigand us without committing a crime. Problem with sending Grizzly is it's just going to trade into Eric's. Not the best trade ever. But if I just send Greenblade, that's super suspicious, and I only get 2 damage in anyway. Do I just not attack? I just don't feel like the attacks are very good. So I'm waiting. Alright. Well, that is a shame. They're drawing their rares before us, that's for sure. The crime off of just a land for the Brigand card draw. Our blocks are absolutely terrible against the Stagecoach security. They have all their creatures untapped anyway. Alright. I think that's it for us. Yep, that's magic for you. Got outdrawn here. Halfway through the deck, didn't draw any of our rares, but our opponent double slammed us. Brigand was definitely the MVP for them that game. If we killed it instead of Gem Lightfoot, we would be taking a lot more damage there because of all the flying hits. But they did have the crimes for Brigand to hit me literally every turn, so that did play out awkwardly. And they had plenty more spells to play, but that's because Brigand kept hitting us. Like, if we killed Brigand instead of Gem, then they, like, run out of cards faster, and when they run out of cards, Gem starts drawing. Yeah, it's an awkward choice between the two, but I suppose things would have been a little better for us if we killed Brigand. Again, more life total pressure, but less card draw for our opponent. Yeah, I mean, we could have played it out differently. There's probably, with perfect lines, a way to get 1, maybe 2 more draw steps there. But we ended this game so far behind on board that I think even if we found one of our bomb rares in like a couple turns from this position, we still lose it. We just hit our weaker stuff and not our rares. And they hit some of their stronger stuff. And really the card draw engine taking the game. All right. That was a really fair loss. That was a pretty standard loss. It's just rough to go 3-3 with a deck this powerful. I think the first 2 losses were the really big bummers. Those were both just super unlucky games. Just cruel ultimatum. That's it. It's over. And mana issues. But again, we were bound to lose like 1 game to mana issues. So there was that. Yeah, not a ton to say here. I think this deck certainly could have done better. I think 3-3 is about the bottom of how well this deck does on average. So I think we got the short end of the stick luck-wise today. This probably averages much closer to a 7-win run than a 3-win run. But today was not that day. Today was not that average run, we got crushed pretty hard for a few losses, especially early. So we would have had to go on a 7-win streak to get a 7-win run, since we got those 2 losses just right off the bat. And that is always going to be pretty unlikely to happen. Yeah, we have solid removal, multiple pieces of interaction, some more flexible than others. We have a couple of protection spells for our great bombs, and when we're not drawing our great bombs, we have solid green-white mount curve outs. Just a solid deck all around. A little disappointed with the 3-3 record, but at least we rallied into that off of the 0-2 start. And that is going to get us started in the return to Outlaws of Thunder Junction. And that is also going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it and you're interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm and send some more in the recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.